We have intoned the fact that we are here as faith partners. We often use that phrase, interfaith, multi-faith. But what does it mean to be faith family? It means to go back to that which animates everything. Erase what I look like. I erase what you look like. And I go back to the divine essence of all that has animated us. And that word, which I learned my first semester in seminary, is Ru'ach. Ru'ach. The word itself makes you breathe in and out. Ru'ach. This is the breath that we all share, that animates us all. No matter where we come from, no matter where we're going, it is this breath. No matter what your faith tradition. And yet, we take the opportunity when we lock our gates at times to think that we can actually be the ones and the arbiter of those who can claim and hold on to that breath. We've seen it over and over and over again. The arrogance, I will call it, the arrogance that we have to think that we can tell someone that your breath is not important enough. That the divinity that was placed in you, I do not recognize. You see, I'm going to go there and tell you that the deaths that we've experienced and the snuffing out of life that we've unfortunately seen on video and have heard about time and time again is more than just the horrific image of bodies being non-animated. It is literally another person telling someone that your breath, your gift of life, does not matter. It is literally the arrogance of snuffing out the divinity of another divine person. How arrogant to take that away from the cosmological notion of divine. Years ago, we heard Eric Garner say, "I can't breathe." George Floyd, in his last breaths, as they were being taken from him, he only wanted to go back to one place. He cried out for his mother. He cried out for his mother. And even that was not enough to recognize the divinity of what had animated him that was being snuffed out arbitrarily. And lest we not forget Sandra Bland. Sandra Bland, locked behind doors. We haven't seen that. But imagine that last moment. When our breath, our Ru'ach, decides to leave this vessel, it should be a thing of honor and dignity that we say, Ru'ach, my divine, goes back into the cosmos. And may my memory of how I've used this divinity be a blessing to you. So when we claim multi-faith and interfaith and we're talking about what do we need to do when we lock our gates, I say that in every locked gate, there needs to be a sliver, just a sliver, whether it's a crack in the wood or a crack in the stone, so that we can see if someone is there that needs to breathe in to be a part of coming inside to be safe. Breath, Ru'ach. It can enter through a locked gate to speak to us of compassion, of dignity, of rightness and righteousness. So please remember that Ru'ach is more powerful than any pandemic, any knee on a neck. Claim it. And if you leave this place wondering why we are here together, decrying racism, decrying violence, decrying hatred, decrying violence, decrying the lack of peace, it is because each of us has that gift of Ru'ach. And because we have it, we should be humble enough to recognize that it is the divine right of all. And for this, we fight. For this, we march. We march for breath, for Ru'ach.
רוח אלוהים מרחפת על פני המים. In the beginning, when out of tohu vavohu and out of darkness and confusion, our world began, all there was Ruach, Elohim merachefet al pnei hamayim. And there's that word, Ruach, breath, spirit, hovering over the face of the deep. And that word hovering in Hebrew is feminine, merachefet. And from the very first moment in our cosmology, in our biblical theology, whatever force animated the reality of the world we're living in now, our ancestors were humble enough to recognize that it is greater than what they knew. And they named this story of the spirit of breath hovering over the deep. And the storyteller said, like an eagle hovering with its young held close. Ruach Elohim merachefet al pnei hamayim is how our story begins. So years ago, when we started envisioning this lab shul idea, we knew we do not want to call upon a deity that is melech, that is a king, not for its masculinity or hierarchy, with gratitude to our ancestors who've handed us these myths and metaphors of meaning and mystery, but calling on us to change. We did not make up the notion that Ruach is how we speak of the divine. There were mystics before us for generations who already called on us to be post-patriarchal, to be all-encompassing of spirit beyond gender and race and ethnic and national identity. And we took Ruach and we are owning up to that metaphor of spirit beyond that which differentiates us. And this year, with masks on that make it hard to breathe, with masks off to risk this intimacy, with the knowledge that we are out together protesting the fact that some of us, more than others of us, are not allowed to breathe. Ruach Elohim merachefet. The Spirit of the Divine is hovering inside every single room where you are praying with us right now, inside this ark, inside our hearts, inside every single being on this planet, plant and animal and human. Breath is what connects us, and breath is what is being robbed of us. And that is why on these days of Shuvu, of come back to breath, we celebrate the gift of breath, of meditative energy and effort. Don't be distracted. Come back to breath. Come back to breath. Come back to breath. Come back to Ruach Elohim merachefet. What does it mean to be in divine image? To breathe with dignity. To not take any single breath for granted. When humanity was first created, our teachers say there were two brothers. One was called Cain and the other was called Hevel. Cain means matter and Hevel means breath. Cain and Abel are representation of our body and our breath, and one killed the other. That is the inheritance we received. In our Judeo-Christian mythology, being my brother's keeper is the first interaction between humans on this earth, not in the Garden of Eden. On earth, two brothers are fighting over what? Over their father's love, and one kills the other. The body kills the breath. So on this night, as we begin to end this Yom Kippur, we are not done with the days of Shuvu. We are not done. We cannot be done to rise and reckon and reset, because we are our brother's keepers and we are our sister's keepers, and we are keepers of all of us for whom gender is just a suggestion and skin color is just a fact, and we are connected by breath in ways that call on us to rise together as we are today, as we have and as we will. So much more unites us than divides us. And Ruach Elohim, divine breath, oxygen, air. Let's take a couple breaths together, shall we? Let's not take any breath for granted, not today. This is the gate that we are opening, the gate of Ruach, the gate of we are each other's keepers, the gate of we must breathe. Ptach lanu sha'ar. Open your mouths and breathe. Let these gates of life and hope and resistance and persistence open wide as we walk through them in teshuvah, in repentance for what we haven't done. Shuvu, coming back to what we will, starting right now. Let's open up the gates. Stay with us here.